Hello, I'm FXToyCat, and welcome back to the Minecraft Update News video. 121.110 is the name of the next update for Minecraft Bedrock now, and we already had 25 new copper features inside of it, but Mojang just decided to add 25 more in the latest beta and preview, and if you're curious about whether this includes green point lighting in vanilla by default, well, let's go into that, as well as the fact that the number of features that have come in this update hasn't stopped the large amount of criticism that each of them has attracted. Why are people calling this the laziest set of copper features ever? Well, let's go into it today, and this video will come to you in 5 parts, a lot quicker than usual, because indeed the first of the 5 features is a copper torch, and outside of telling you that it's a torch but crafted with copper as an ingot instead, I can simply say that it's like the other torches, like a soul torch, but instead of being blue, or instead of being red, or instead of being slightly yellow, get this, it's green instead. And so for default vanilla and even Vibrant Visuals gameplay, this doesn't have a deep effect besides allowing you customization, which, to be clear, customization is great, but yeah, it's a brand new torch that isn't going to be used that often, but as a style choice, it seems like a very good thing. However, the questions start to be erased when we get to the second thing here, because this is the copper lantern, which of course comes in 4 variants. Then you can wax it and unwax it, meaning that it actually has 8 variants, because we have regular copper, waxed regular copper, we have weathered copper, waxed regular copper, we have exposed copper, waxed regular exposed copper, and then we have fully oxidized copper and fully waxed oxidized copper. That is 8 separate variants just for this, and what's interesting is we already had a light source made from copper before, but this is a green light source made from copper, and so that is the big differentiator, I guess we could say. But in case you're curious as to like, oh, so does the light value go down as you go through these? Actually, the answer is no. If I bring this with me real quick, this is a waxed oxidized copper lantern, as you can see. If I bring it with me down here, you can see the we actually need to remove that. Interestingly, they all have the same light level, as I can show you by using this fully unoxidized lamp, and then comparing it to this fully oxidized lamp. There is absolutely, or lantern I should say, there is no difference whatsoever, and so we have ourselves a brand new lantern type, but just one brand new lantern type that comes in 8 different variants. It is kind of cool to see, I guess, and I love that we have a use for the copper nuggets, but yeah, as far as like, you'll start to see where people get their complaints from as we move on to the next thing here, because these are iron bars, but get this, made from copper. Yeah, that's the item. What difference does it do? Well, you break it using the same tools, and you make it in exactly the same way, but with copper instead. And again, because it comes in regular and weathered and oxidized and or exposed and fully oxidized, because it comes in 4 variants and then you can wax it, there's actually 8 brand new types of this, and it looks kind of cool if I'm being honest. If I can give you just a little bit of a weird explanation over here, I placed a bunch of them down. I was going to replace all of these iron railings with copper, but I forgot to do the replace command, so I just have a huge combo of them. You can actually see it looks really, really cool when you get enough of these together, especially with the lighting effects. But again, this is going to be a niche building item that will make people happy in the future. But for now, it's 8 brand new items, and that brings us up to 17 new items I've showed you already. But in terms of new functionality, not necessarily that high, and that's why as we move into the 4th item, I got really bad at making these icons as thin as I possibly could, and so if you're curious, the icons sort of fell apart here. Numbers are hard in Minecraft, okay? If you've got a limited amount of space, you try and make good numbers. But anyway, with that said, let's now talk about the fact that, yeah, these are brand new chains, and there are 8 brand new chains, because 4 different types, 2 different wax levels, yes, but what's interesting is you can't really mix and match the chains with the lanterns. As you can see right here, it looks, if we've got a regular copper lantern underneath all 4 types of chains, you can see just how, in my opinion, ugly it looks when you mix them all the way. You can kind of mix a copper lantern with a chain of a different oxidation level. I'm sure that people will call this the building meta, and it's really fancy, and it's a way to make it look like you know what you're talking about, and like you drink cappuccinos or something. But the truth is, as far as like actual regular people, this isn't actually that useful. It's nice to see, and it's, I guess, slightly different looking per chain, but ultimately, the reason that these 4 sets of features have attracted so much criticism is because people are either saying, I think on the polite end, that the copper side of the menu is getting cluttered. I mean, I saw a fun tweet that's every snapshot this becomes more real, and yeah, it's true, and it's one of the big reasons that copper is a really tricky resource to work with. You just like adding new, they couldn't add a new wood type without adding 15 new wood variants, and the same is true for copper. Every new thing that gets a copper variant also then has to get 7 new copper variants. And then more critically, there is the question of the fact that, like, okay, what about the other underground resources? What about the other things that people could do with copper? We're starting to get into the weird territory of the fact that everything is turning copper, but does it need to be? Because critically, there's the question here of like, okay, so this whole update, which seems very exciting, seems to just be new copper versions of things that exist. At least when people were excited for copper, tools and copper armor and etc., etc. I think that a lot of people are like, well, this is fitting a midpoint tier, whereas this is purely an aesthetic change. And again, adding 8 new lanterns to the game, where we have 2, is, I think they could have gotten more value by, instead of adding 8 of these, add just 2 of these or 1 of these. Make it so it doesn't oxidize, because the flame keeps it is that how oxidation works? I don't know. But instead, maybe people would love to have a redstone lamp, for example. I feel like redstone lantern, I should say. Redstone lamp does exist. There are lots of these questions that people have started to raise, and personally, I think it's absolutely wild, but I just wanted to bring those up. But the most interesting part of this, which is actually attracting even more criticism, has to be the shelf. The shelf just got a change on the Java edition, and interestingly, they've changed it on Bedrock. It used to look like this. This is the exact same shelf, just without my ugly 5 symbol. I think I accidentally made, I was going for 4 and then I made a female symbol, and then I realized, woman means 5, basically, right? If you really think about it. Anyway, so what's interesting here is if we look at this, you can see that, yeah, okay, the dies do look different than before, not vastly worse though, especially compared to Java, and again, this is a really interesting case of parity where it looks so different between Java and Bedrock, but to show that, let's jump over there now. Oh, I made this last week and I didn't get to use it. I have a way for me to jump over to the Java edition right now. Wait, one sec. Actually, before we jump over to Java, I'm sure you have a big question, which is what about point lighting? So let's load up our preview world with that point lighting turned on, and let's see what these green torches look like. Are they going to be green because they're meant to, or indeed is it going to be that this is something that is slowly depreciating? So it is worth keeping in mind you do need to turn on the experimental toggle, which still references a deferred pack. This hasn't necessarily been updated as a toggle, and so it doesn't look like it's any closer to coming in the game, but if I place down this light, you can see it is very green by default, and so they have made sure that in this lighting setting, which hasn't been supported and isn't rolled out even to the base game as an experimental toggle, they have made sure that it comes up green nonetheless, and this even does apply to the lanterns. Here is a soul lantern, it's blue. Here is a copper lantern, it's green, and here is a waxed oxidized one. It's also very green. You can see that lighting has some very interesting, effects as we do this. I'm not actually sure why that is that it's making those rays, but still, yeah, this is something that they have actually changed. Copper lighting is incredibly green in a way that's actually super, super cool. You could see why you would want to have copper torches with this, which makes me think that maybe that's part of the aim. Again, to me, I feel like copper lanterns are really, really cool, and maybe, one of the better parts of this, but this is mostly a visual update. Besides, when we look at this stuff where, I guess it's still a visual update, but it's a visual update with some style and some substance behind it. Does this mean anything? I'll be honest with you, the answer is probably no. By the way, yeah, I built this world for last week's beta, and I had this lovely transition to jump over to Java that I didn't get to use. So as we jump from 1.21.110 to the Java equivalent, let's go there right now. Whoa, welcome to Snapshot 25W32A. This is the Java equivalent of the 1.21.110.32. Honestly, they both have confusing update name systems, logical in their own way, but this is the exact same snapshot as the beta I just showed you, except it came out a day earlier on Tuesday. On Bedrock, we were releasing the update that you might have seen the video about, and then crucially, it has 3 other differences. The first is that this redstone torch has the correct texture. They have not lost the redstone torch texture here on Java. The second is you can now have emojis on signs on Java. This is something that's been sort of possible via glyphs on Bedrock, but it's now directly implemented for all sorts of items. They showed it in their main image, and it kind of looks like a crab to me. I know it's not just me. But then there's the third change, which is shelves. So shelves have have changed on Bedrock. I showed you the before and after, but if I show you a shelf on Java, you'll see it's different to either of those. So just to show you from earlier in the video, here is what the shelf looked like before on Bedrock, here is what it looks like now on Bedrock, and here is what it looks like now in Java. And just to show you how weird these differences really are, let's then go behind the shelf where you can see on Java, you can see behind these items. So it's listed on the changelog as being changed for the sake of making it so items sit on the shelf rather than in the middle of the shelf, but this is one of the most hated changes I've ever seen in a snapshot. Seriously, when we talk about this, it's the usual 5% of the community looking for a reason to call Mojang lazy, and ultimately, the way I see it is even though it's a bunch of features that don't add a lot of value, it's better than having not that many features that don't add a lot of value. It's not going to be inventory clutter because it's crafted, and so it's creative inventory clutter. I mean, don't think about typing copper or you're going to really dive into it, but I think that this is a lame complaint, but the real complaint of the shelves is shared not just by myself, but by basically everyone here. The shelves are way worse, and basically everyone seems to agree, and let's talk about why that is. The only defense, I tried to look for anyone who agreed with this because I wanted to, I actually like to have my opinion changed if it's for the better, but I couldn't find anyone who liked this more besides saying it was for realism reasons. However, it's not actually realistic. It's meant to be that items sit on the shelf, which means that, it ruins things like Silent Whisperer shared these banners. Look how much worse they look now. And yeah, it might look better for some blocks right here, but look at this redstone. It's floating. It makes no sense that it would float here. If it was going to float anywhere, surely it should float in the middle. And indeed, it's not just redstone. It's also the brand new copper nugget, the one they literally just introduced. Why is it floating in the middle of nowhere? And if it can float in the middle of nowhere, realism is clearly not a concern. And let's be honest, it's Minecraft. Should realism be a concern? But yeah, anyway, with that said, you can see that there are many items which don't follow these exact same rules. I'm just going to guess right now that a button doesn't either. Oh no, the button does sit weirdly on the ground there. And so maybe this is an inconsistency they could fix. But I also just think that having a button sit on a shelf like this feels really, really strange. Especially like, like here is the size of the button. Here is the size of the button on the shelf. I think we already have to concede it's a weird special item in its own way. We don't have to make it a bad special item. We can make it a cool special item. I think so, at least. Call me crazy if you disagree. But yeah, let's make one of these just for flowers, and then I can show you that, like, okay, the flowers sit nicely at the bottom. Mostly you can see, but why is it like this? There's so many strange little quirks, and the only thing I can say is this is something I therefore imagine they will change. Mojang doesn't listen out for the hordes of people saying, oh, so lazy, and although I would hope that they listen to people asking for a redstone lantern, I do think that it's much more likely that they listen to the hordes of people saying these shelves are kind of, like, it's not that they're even necessarily terrible in that many ways, it's just that they're very, very strange in a needless way. And so I think this is something that they will probably fix because Bedrock has a better shelf. And if there is a time, Mojang, to learn that you can take features from Bedrock and put them onto Java rather than removing features from Bedrock, now should be the time. Bedrock, shelves look so much better than Java shelves, and hopefully that is what we see in the coming weeks. Otherwise, that is the end of the 5 parts of this video, and indeed the 2 bonus parts about vibrant visuals and shelves. But how about one more final bonus part? Because this beta, so on Java, when it comes to snapshots, you can't really analyze the name besides saying what day of what week that something came out, of what year, 25W32A, the 32nd week of 2025. But with the Bedrock update name, we can say that usually Bedrock beta numbers go up to 0.24 or 0.25 or 0.26, and then that's when they finish, and that's when the update goes out to release between 2 and 3 weeks later. So if we go and we look at the, if we look at the change logs for 1.21.110, the update just released, it actually went up to 0.24, and then they sent it out to, certification, which is why it just came out yesterday. And so could it be that we have one more beta, one more preview off the copper drop? I actually think it's likely we get at least 2 more, but it is possible, it is very reasonable, that next week's beta and preview could be the last one, and so this could be the drop as we know it. And so what do you think of all the new copper features so far? Again, we've gone from copper having literally 2 uses, none of which you can actually find by searching copper. The first was the lightning rod, and which now, by the way, has 7 new variants. It used to be copper was useful for this, it was useful for this, if you can even call that a use, and it was also useful for the spyglass. This was its original value when it was introduced to the game, and honestly, I mean, I don't have a lot of great things to say about copper when it first came out, but then over the years since then, they've been adding so much to it that it's now clearly, I mean, if we don't want to say it's the favorite child that Mojang has. Oh, I like the look of this. What about if we do the reverse? Does that look good? No, it does not. But yeah, I've got to say that as Mojang is slowly but surely adding more uses, they are creating a more and more valuable copper set, and this is something really, really interesting that's happening. But it does make you then say, like, okay, you know, kind of like the meme of the kid being left out in the rain. What about amethyst? What are the uses that we can use for amethyst right now? And it's like, well, crystals or spyglasses or other types of crystals. And yeah, I think that there's a lot of questions like that that we'll have to address in this week's Bits video, because for now, I hope you all enjoyed this one, and I'll see you in the live stream. Check out Sky Glue, and I don't know. Otherwise, I'm very, very excited to see what comes in the next and maybe final Bedrock beta and preview for the Copper Drop. This update took us by storm. The fact that we've gone from it being here literally like 5-6 weeks ago to like, oh yeah, it's almost ready for release, is one of the shortest update cycles ever, and the amount that they added, again, just, it's absolutely wild, in my opinion. But again, Mojang drops do be doing some crazy stuff, and we'll talk about that another time. But for now, thank you. I hope you all enjoyed. What do you think about this drop being done so quickly? Are you happy with the amount of content, or is it a bit too much of a cop for your liking? Copper Theo off the comment section with your fingers. That sounds, yeah, it sounds exactly how I want it to sound. And make sure that, you know, we've got to convince the YouTube AI that you're over 18. And so, guess what? Copper Theo off some comments. Use your fingers to give me a really good opinion about what it is you think in regards to all of these new copper features. But otherwise, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you in... Where did he go? Oh. And I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.